Hello friends, it's Scott from Plot River Keto. If you're new to my channel, welcome. On my channel, you get to come along for the ride on my health journey. It is time to check in with you guys and let you know what's been going on with me. And the biggest thing that's been going on with me is I survived another tax season. Hooray! Survived my 11th tax season. April 15th was Wednesday. So I am done for another year. Last Saturday that I worked for a while. Won't say that I never ever have long weeks or long days during the rest of the year, but they are very few and far between. And I've worked every Saturday since the middle of January. So I'm very excited to have survived another tax season. I am very appreciative of the opportunity that I have to work and earn a living. And as tax accountants, we make a good chunk of our living during tax season, which is the reason we work all the hours that we do. But I have survived another tax season, so hooray for that. Those of you who follow along my short videos, if you're wondering where I was all week, I was surviving tax season. Through Wednesday, the last couple of days right there at the deadline are some of the craziest days that we work. My wife can definitely testify that I come home on those days and have no brain power whatsoever. And so wasn't getting the walks in like I wanted to. Then on Thursday, I did a little bit of different getting steps in, and I didn't record a short video associated with that. I got some much needed yard work done. Brandon was home with us this past week. My son was home from BYU, Idaho. He is now back there. He flew back on Saturday, so we got him for the whole week. And on Thursday, he helped me out with a little bit of yard work. We took some tree limbs and things out to the dump. And he and I went and saw a movie, which was really fun. But yeah, the kind of out of the normal routine, I guess you'd say, this past week. Some of that was surviving the end of tax season and having Brandon home, which we don't get to do all the time. But very excited for the opportunity to kind of get back to a normal, as if life is ever normal, but a normal routine for me. Both from a nutrition perspective, which I'm going to talk with you guys a little bit about, and also from a movement or exercise perspective. Those things go hand in hand for me. Those of you who've been following along on this journey, the ups and the downs, you know that as I am better with my movement and exercise, I do a lot better with my health and nutrition. Not to continue to beat this or reiterate this, but for those who have found me for the first time, I've been at this health journey of mine for coming around on 5 years. Had a lot of success, gave back most of that success, now trying to head again in the right direction. And I mostly want to utilize the keto / low carb lifestyle. Those of you can go back a couple videos and see that I recently started on a GLP-1, changed from one GLP-1 to a different GLP-1 because the one had made me incredibly sick. And so I'm trying to utilize that as a tool in my tool bag as I continue to move toward better health, which is really what the goal is for me. And one of the interesting things from this week was that I'm on this new GLP-1. I do want to get back to eating a keto lifestyle. That did not happen this last week. Call it the end of tax season, which isn't an excuse, but it is a reason. And then also having my son home, who is amazing, but wants to cook all the things when he's here. So didn't have a great nutrition week. But I will say that there was something very interesting that I discovered. One is that I definitely want to be back. And Liz and I have done some meal planning for this week, but I definitely want to be back eating a keto / low carb, having that be my lifestyle. And the reason is I just feel better when I do. But I did discover something very interesting. This GLP-1 that I'm on does help suppress my appetite. So even though I haven't been making great food choices, I think I'm slowly starting to head in the direction that I want as far as losing some weight. Having said that, I want to make sure that I'm losing fat, and so I want to make the right food choices. But I can make some poor food choices on a GLP-1 and still have some success. Having said that, I discovered this past week that there are certain things, especially on a GLP-1, that I need to avoid. There is a very particular pizza is from a particular place, made me just unbelievably sick. Very ill. Friday night I spent most of my first Saturday that I didn't work sick. And that was yesterday. I was sick probably. I was in bed till afternoon, and that was really annoying. I wanted to do a lot of things that I needed to catch up on, and I didn't really hardly get to any of those because I made myself sick because I made some poor food choices. Like I said, I think on a GLP-1 I can get away with certain poor food choices and not have it give me immediate feedback. But there are definitely some poor food choices on a GLP-1 that give me immediate and violent feedback. And I discovered one of those this past week. Now, the good news for me moving forward is that not just because of that feedback, but because of kind of how I feel in general, and because I know that as I'm on this, one of the things that I need to focus on is not having muscle loss. And one of the ways that I'm going to not have muscle loss on a GLP-1 is to eat enough protein. And another way that I'm not going to have muscle loss while utilizing a GLP-1 is to get exercise. And so those are two things that I really want to focus on this week. But it was very interesting to me to discover that certain poor food choices on a GLP-1 provide immediate feedback. And that can be very discouraging in some ways as you find yourself in bed sick. But it can also be very encouraging to remind you that those are food choices that you don't want to make. So that was interesting for me this week. But moving forward, like I said, Liz and I have planned a week of keto meals. And one of the nice things with the GLP-1 is that I have less desire to eat. Generally speaking, that's what it does. It quiets, because it slows down your digestion, it quiets that carb, sugar, food monster that lives inside of me anyway. And so I have less of an inclination to snack, which is nice. I'm still training my brain. I know I've mentioned that to you guys in the last few videos, but I'm still retraining my brain on what a normal portion size should look like for me with the GLP-1 that I'm utilizing. So that's something I'm still working on. But with a keto meal plan for this week and less of a desire to snack, I think I can really make a jump start and start heading down the right track. The other thing that I'm really focusing on doing this week is getting back to a routine from an exercise or movement perspective. It's a lot easier when I'm not working super long hours, getting off the closer quote unquote 9 to 5. I work 8 to 5 and take a lunch in the middle of the day. But being able to get off at 5 instead of 6 or 6:30 is nice. You would be surprised. It doesn't sound like much, but the cumulative effect of working late every single day is really tough. And so it's nice to have that extra hour back or extra 2 hours back. It makes a huge difference. And so I'm excited to get some consistency back this week with my exercise. Plan is to get up early enough that I can get a walk in with my dogs. I eventually want to transition that walk back to a ruck, which is walking with weight, for those of you who don't know. And then I also want to work on getting a DDPY workout in the mornings. Now, one of the things that I found really interesting, I was listening today, we had an area conference of our church today, and one of the gentlemen that talked to us talked about, and of course he was relating this to how we live our lives and from a Bible or church perspective, but he was talking about that consistency was more important than intensity. And I was like, that definitely applies to, studying the Bible and living a Christian life, but it also very, very much applies to a health journey. And so that's what I'm going to focus on this week is consistency over intensity. Wow, what a concept, right? I mean, this isn't the first time I think that I've ever shared something like that with you. But, the idea to me that getting a walk in, even if it's not the world's greatest exercise, is better than, and doing that every day is better than getting a great workout in with a super long 5-mile, walk on Monday and then not doing anything Tuesday through Friday. So my goal this week is to have consistency over intensity. And I'm going to be consistent in my nutrition, consistent in my exercise, and that's where we're headed this week. So I hope that you guys have had a fantastic week. The other thing that I'm going to be consistent with this week is as I get those morning walks in with my dogs, you guys will see those morning short videos with me, which is usually just checking in and saying hi, but occasionally I have a little pearl of wisdom for you. Hope that you enjoy those. But I appreciate you guys. As always, thank you for being a part of my health journey. Thank you for your comments, your encouragement, your support. If you like this video and this is your first time, like, subscribe, hit bell icon, do the things, yeah, that's it for this week. We're going to work on consistency over intensity day by day. Keep calm and keto on, my friends. We'll check in with you again next week.